early 1930s, archaeologists digging at Ur discovered the Great Death Pit. The Royal Cemetery had already turned up several death pits, mass burials next to the smaller enclosures of the actual royals, but this was the largest. 74 skeletons lay there in neat rows. They wore golden headdresses, golden ribbons, golden flowers, and golden necklaces. Nestled among their bodies were musical instruments, beads of lapis lazuli, small golden cups, 2 beautiful statues of rams. Leonard Woolley, the supervisor of the dig, imagined what would have happened 4,000 years ago, on the day of the burial. There would have been a great parade, shimmering in gold, white, red and blue. The servants played music and sang as they calmly proceeded down into the tomb. Those little golden cups were full of poison. When the time came, the servants drank, and lay down in their assigned places to faithfully follow their queen into the afterlife. Their deaths were beautiful, dutiful, and bloodless. Or maybe that's just what the royals wanted you to think, because it wasn't like that, really. Several skulls were twisted the wrong way round, suggesting they might have been strangled, or had their throats cut before their burial. Some had wounds to their head, from something sharp and heavy. After their deaths, they were embalmed with mercury, and heated so that their bodies wouldn't rot too quickly. Then they were dressed up in their finery, in ways that to me seemed designed to hide their injuries, and arranged carefully within the tomb. I think that they wanted to give the impression of a peaceful, willing parade into death. It's a powerful narrative, kings and queens that are able to inspire that much loyalty among their subjects. And it's pretty common throughout history. In ancient Egypt, these kinds of sacrifices are associated with the First Dynasty, shortly after the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt, with tombs spreading out behind the pharaoh like a procession into death. There could be up to 300 people buried with a single pharaoh, with the richest and most important buried closest. For many, there's no clear sign of how they died, but there are suggestions that they were strangled so that it could look peaceful and bloodless. In China, the practice has come in and out of favour multiple times in different regions, with it being especially popular in the Shang dynasty and the Qin state in the spring and autumn period. In West Africa, there are written accounts of this kind of thing, though exaggeration from European sources can't be ruled out. When a king of Dahomey died in 1789, over 1,000 people were said to have been killed in his honour over 2 years, including attendants, wives, and prisoners of war. That's pretty common, a combination of supposedly willing sacrifices, treated with respect and given pretty nice graves, and sacrifices that are treated badly in some way. In the Shang dynasty cemetery at Anyang, some bodies were given coffins and grave goods, while others were dismembered and buried in mass pits. These lower status burials would probably be prisoners of war or enslaved people. So the rulers get to show their power in 2 ways. They can inspire such loyalty that members of their society follow them willingly to death, but they can also demonstrate their deadly power against non-members. These massive sacrifices usually happen when a state wants to show off that power, like when a new dynasty is establishing itself, when it's just conquered a bunch of new land, or when it's desperately trying to prove it's still in control. Plus, if you've just come out of a war, you're going to have a lot of captives and prisoners to sacrifice. So what did the people who were being sacrificed think about all this? Some of them were probably willing, and they'd have their own reasons for that. Feelings of grief, love and loyalty towards their leader, perhaps. A genuine belief that they'd be joining their ruler in a glorious afterlife. A way to leave a mark on the world, be part of something that felt divine and important. There could be honours, riches and better status promised to your family after your death, or better treatment given to you in life. And there was probably a lot of social pressure once you'd agreed to it, stopping people from changing their mind. There are stories of Yoruba people who changed their minds at the last moment, being killed by their own families to save them from disgrace. But we also know that people resisted. In Dahomey, more senior attendants of the king began to refuse to be sacrificed, so a random person would be promoted to their position and then immediately killed. There were poems and writings protesting the practice, like the Qin dynasty poem Yellow Bird. It describes the sacrifice of 3 warriors, their fear at the edge of the pit, how much more useful they would have been alive. And there are stories from all over of wives and enslaved people fleeing upon the death of a king. There were whole revolts where people took over a city and refused to leave until the killings stopped. And they did stop. In a lot of these places, other elites had started showing off with mass killings of their own, or the number of deaths had just gotten too extreme. And it's not magical or transcendent anymore when everyone's doing it and so many people are dying. When you know that your own family members are being pressured into being killed, or that your local noble is sick and your friends are already planning their escape, you can no longer buy into the narrative that these are willing sacrifices performed out of love and duty, no matter how beautiful and peaceful they look. And so the narrative has to change. Ruling by fear and awe can't work forever. Death pits were only constructed in Ur for a few generations. In Egypt, this kind of sacrifice only happens in the First Dynasty. Retainer sacrifices stop completely after just a few centuries. In Japan, there's a story of an emperor hearing the cries of the retainers being sacrificed at his brother's funeral, and being so horrified that he banned the practice entirely. In China, it gradually became associated with gross excess and fell out of favour. If the dead needed assistance so badly, they could be given figurines instead. And the rulers had to find different narratives to justify their power. When a monarch dies, the monarchy itself becomes vulnerable. I started writing this video months ago, but recently it seemed kind of relevant. Since the death of Queen Elizabeth II, I've seen two narratives in conflict. There's been a massive amount of people willing to sacrifice their time and money in order to express love and loyalty to the Queen, or just to be part of a historic moment. But I've also seen an upswelling of criticism, both of her and of the monarchy as a whole. As long as the figurehead was generally popular, the institution seemed safe. But now there's a new king who hasn't really proved himself yet, and has a few controversies attached. Several countries are considering removing the British monarch as their head of state. There's the elaborate show of a funeral and a coronation, all while regular people are struggling, making the divide between the royals and the public painfully obvious. Now, I'm not saying that the British royal family should wow the public with mass killings to demonstrate their power. The general narrative is going the opposite way, softening and diminishing the power of the monarchy, presenting the Queen as a little old lady who liked corgis and marmalade sandwiches. But I think it's been a really interesting event to watch, and to see the ways that a state deals with the death of a monarch. It's both a moment of potential vulnerability and change, and an opportunity to tell the narrative of power, whether that's gentle benevolence and an excuse for pageantry, or divine authority over their subjects' life and death.